of you in the room are grandparents? Raise your hand. Okay, excellent. You're in the right room. How many of you all know John Maxwell? Author, speaker, writer, preacher, some of you? If you haven't read John Maxwell, he's a trainer, coach, speaker, preacher, really great guy. I follow him, have for years. Chris and I went through his coaching certification program as leadership coaches. And what John does when he gets up on stage is he sits down and he says, "Hi, my name is John, and I'm your friend." And I always love that. I just wanted to say it. I don't have any reason for saying it. There's no story behind that. So hi, I'm Nikki. I'm your friend. No, that's just fun. Okay, so now that we have that on recording, I'm going to send that to John and tell him that I used his line. I used several of his lines. So I have a disclosure to make about today's topic. Are you ready? I'm a grandparent in training. Right? I'm a grandparent in training. That's what I was going to say. I think this is today's talk is probably as much for me as it is for you, because most of you probably have it figured out. How many of you have this figured out, this grandparenting, great-grandparenting thing? Oh, good. I'm in the good room then. I don't feel so bad. We just came back, Chris and I and Wanda, from Austin. We drove in yesterday evening. After being there we left last Thursday, came back yesterday for a band concert that our granddaughter was in on Tuesday evening at her school. She's a 7th grader, and she was in a band concert. She's fantastic. She plays the tuba. I wish I had a picture up to show you, but she's about my height, and she carries this big, huge tuba, right? And the concert was about an hour long. And it was a 6-hour drive down there and a 6-hour drive back, right? Several rooms, several hotel nights later, we did the band concert. And I thought to myself, well, at least this concert was longer than the school play that we went to few months ago, which was 30 minutes long, that we drove down for. And so, how many of you are grandparenting from a distance? Raise your hand. Okay, yeah, pretty significant number. We have one local. So when I say I'm a grandparent in training, we have a 12, 7, 4 from one family, 12-year-old, 7-year-old, 4-year-old girl, and 2 boys. And then our son has a daughter who will be 2 in February, he and Kristen. And it's all grandchildren are different, I'm finding, right? And aren't we all different? And so it's fun to learn. Now, our theme this year, which we've never done a theme before, and this was we kind of tried this out this year. We've been talking about life stages, and how life is not about how old you are so much anymore, because at different ages, we all may be in different stages, right? And so with this talk, this slide is we've shown it several times in different formats, but this particular slide kind of represents the life stages in 4 different quadrants of life, or 5 quadrants. I know that math is fuzzy, but in the book that we've been using called Stage Not Age, Susan Wilner Golden, she talks about how we have, some of us are going to have some bonus years in our life, right? We're going to have bonus years where we really didn't expect to live as long as we're all going to live, and we weren't really planning for that, and as a result, we also don't have a map. We don't have a map, right? Like, there used to be kind of a plan, like we knew what to expect because the people before us had gone through it, right? How many of you, by show of hands, have outlived your parents in age? Raise your hand. Okay, about a third of the room. How many of you anticipate that you will? Raise your hand. Yeah, more. And now I'm going to go back, this is a little teachable moment, because back in January, I think it was, we did a talk called The Truth About Living to 100. And we're going to do another version of that this January. When we did that talk, we also did a survey of the room. There were about 120 people here, and those 120 people answered the question about how long they thought they would live, to what age. We had them write down what age they were and what age they thought they would live to. And do you know that the vast majority, over 80% of the room, they were almost all over 70, did not expect to live to be 100. And the reason we do the talk is because we need to expect to live to be 100. In fact, yesterday I was text messaging with a friend who used to be one of our education partners, Jennifer Forrester. She's in Colorado now. Her grandmother lives at Wellington Park. She just moved into assisted living from independent living this year. She's 110. Wow. Yeah, I mean, she's 110. And Danielle, and she went to the picture she shared with me. She went to the front desk of the assisted living with her caregiver that was pushing her wheelchair. She's having a little hard time with her wheelchair now. So she has someone push her down to the end of the hall. She went to the reception desk where they have the calendar of events for the day, which there are several throughout the day. And they asked her which events would she like to attend, and her response was, well, all of them, of course. Right? So she's 110, guys, and she's not laying in a bed somewhere doing nothing. She is up in the morning, dressed, going to breakfast, and doing things all day long. Wow. Okay, now that is worth a hand, right? Yeah. We're going to call her Mima because that's what Jennifer calls her, and I don't know her real name. So, all right? Mima, really. Okay, so we'll be talking more about her next month. But life stages, guys, the reason I bring that up is because her life stages are going to look differently than someone else, right? Who may not have the help that she's had or whatever the case may be. So I put grandparenting on there and highlighted it in 3 different stages. Generally not the growth stage. That's usually youth. That's usually young adulthood. But then once you reach young adulthood, I put grandparenting ? Because do you know that there are people who are 30 years old that are grandparenting? Think about that for a second. If you were 15 when you had yours, and then yours was 15 when they had theirs, you could be 30 years old and be grandparenting. Chris, how old were you when you started grandparenting? 38. Now, he inherited one, right? Kids, and then we adopted one. So I started young, and I married young, so guess what? He started young. So if you're wondering how that worked, I'll give you the math later. So here's the thing about grandparenting, that there is no right or wrong age. Now, how many of you, again, I'm going to do a survey because I want to know who I'm speaking to before I get to these points. How many of you are grandparents? Again, raise your hand. Now, leave your hand up if you're a great-grandparent also. If you're a great-grandparent also, okay, great. And how many of you are great-great-grandparents? Leave your hand up. Okay, I don't have any great-greats. Okay, so we have some greats in here. Congratulations to the greats, all right? How many? Those of you who are great-grandparents, how many great-greats do you have? How many? 6? Awesome. How many? 2? How many? 2? Great. 2. Wanda? 4. Yep. 3. 1. Great. Did I miss anybody? Oh, yeah, back here. 4. 1. Awesome. All right. Oh, yes, ma'am. 1 as well. Okay, great. So we got great. We got lots of greats in here. We're going to use the word great all day long. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that great? It's great. Just say it. It's great. It's great to be a great. Okay. So I want to show you a few slides really quick. I'm just going to kind of buzz through these. These are some of our folks that are education partners, and this is Herb Magley with Oklahoma Alzheimer's Association. He sent in a few pictures of he with his grandkids. Does that look like a lot of fun? Yes. Right? If you're with Herb, I don't think there's a way that you can't be having fun with Herb, right? Herb, right back there. Okay. So he's got his grandsons there, Jackson and Harrison, and I can't imagine some of the things that they do. I don't even really know if I want to know some of the things that they go out and do. And then Marilyn Olson and crew and company with Villages OKC. She sent a couple of pictures. Matter of fact, one of these pictures was in the paper because we used it as our press release picture. This is her and her crew. Marilyn, how many grandkids? 10. Awesome. Yep. And so, and they're, they've got an amazing family. Many of her daughters, one of her daughters, Dana, works with her at Villages OKC, and they've got an amazing crew. And then we've got Josiah. Are you here? Where's Josiah? Yeah, back here. Yeah, Josiah's with Seniors Helping Seniors, and he shared a picture with his grandfather. Is that your mother, Josiah? Your grandmother. Wow, you tell her I asked. Because I wasn't sure, because in your email it said this was his grandfather and he passed about 30 days after this picture was taken. It was at his graduation and he had not been in great health, but that he made it to his graduation. Like he, with his oxygen and everything, it was like he was gonna be there. And so I think that's a great testament to being an amazing grandparent. And thank you, Josiah, for sharing that. And then Quentin Sawatsky with our Bot Radio crew, he sent in pictures of his grandparent time in the tea party room. You need a bigger tea party room, just saying, Quentin. That may be a Christmas present you need to think about. And then he also has a nephew, and I think it's just a nephew and a niece too, right? And they're monkeying around, and he said they call him Funkle Q. Funkle Q, fun Uncle Q, Funkle Q. Isn't that fun? Right? So sometimes it's not about being a grandparent. It's about how many of you in the room are an aunt or great aunt or uncle to someone, right? Yeah. So Shannon, I know Shannon Steiger, she's like the great aunt, or the aunt rather, that all the kids love because, you know, she gets to be the fun aunt, right? But I also know she's a disciplinarian aunt too. I do know that. But, you know, and so sometimes, like my Aunt Sylvia, I've talked about before, right, they sometimes serve as a grandparent, right? So those of you who raise your hands, and maybe a neighbor, how many of you are a grandparent to somebody who you're not related to? Right? Think about that for a second. Some of us grandparent people we're not related to. This is Kelly with Concordia with her new grandbaby, 7 weeks old, Everly, and she's going to be called Vava, which is Portuguese, I understand, for grandmother. And then we've got Danielle and her team of, her crew rather. This is her family. Her mom and dad are obviously grandparents, and she shared her family photo with us. We have Jenny and Chris Gillespie and their crew in their Christmas photo, which is beautiful at Navigating Medicare. And then Julie Davis, she sent in some pictures as well of her grandbabies, and her mom with her great-grandbabies as well. Or I'm sorry, grandbabies. I don't know about greats. I didn't get greats out of that. And then this is a little snapshot of some of our crew. Layla, our Princess Layla, who's 12, we call her Princess Layla. She was our first, together with Kate, the blonde, who is our most recent, Caleb's daughter, and then Eli and Maverick. And so I share this with you because I think we see on social media, we see pictures of people, and we don't always know who they are, but we know that based on what they're doing and the things that they're doing, a lot of times, right, we can kind of tell what's going on with people sometimes. I won't have you raise your hands, but I will acknowledge this because I think it's important. I'm going to talk about it in one of my key points here in a minute. Some of us are probably grandparents that are not getting an opportunity to be a grandparent, if that makes sense. I was in the Celebrate Recovery group this past year. I told you guys here at Crossings, and a group of about 100 women that came every Monday night for about 10 months. And there were a lot of women in our group that struggled with let me just call it being estranged from their grandchildren, right? For whatever reason, lots of different reasons, but not having a relationship with their grandchildren, and that's a painful thing for people to deal with. And so if you're here today and you're in that position, I give you lots and lots of love and hugs because I can't imagine what that's like. I hope that by talking through this today, there may be some ways to solve that, and if at all possible, we'll talk about that a little bit too. So then I want to show you this. This is Homer. Homer is, he's since passed away, but this was in 1988 or 1989, I don't remember which. This is me in high school. In the 80s, yes, I had big hair like everybody else. But I share this with you because this was Homer, and he was my secret grandfather. We had a program through Future Homemakers of America called Secret Grandparents. We were assigned an older adult from our area that was either isolated in the nursing home there or needed a relationship. And so we were assigned that person. We were to give them a certain number of gifts throughout the year that we made or that we purchased or whatever at certain holidays. And then at the end, we did this big reveal at the school cafeteria. We made spaghetti and served it, and then met our secret grandparent, got to meet us. They didn't know who we were all year long. And Homer, I don't know if I can do this without crying. Homer was my secret grandparent. He lived in the nursing home in Gary, and he had as a young person, he had a brain injury of some sort, and so he had been disabled his whole life. He has a niece who kind of looked after him, but didn't really have a big family. And so anyway, I would go deliver medicine there because I worked at the pharmacy, and I would leave medicine for the people, and then I would leave my little gift for a Homer, and he didn't know who it was, and so the big reveal was a big deal. And it didn't occur to me at that time, of course, at that age, but then looking back years later, his niece shared with me the difference that made in his life, right? As a young person who paid attention to an older person. So today's talk is about grandparenting, but really it's also about intergenerational relationships, right? And how very important they are, not just with people you're related to, right? But everybody out there. Just really quick, and then I'm gonna I promise I have a talk to do. This is my grandparents on the left in 1960. And I have this picture, and I keep it with me. I keep it actually on my refrigerator. And the reason I do is because I want to be reminded that my grandparents at one point in time were young, right? In this picture, my grandpa was 38 years old. And my grandmother died at 57. And so I never really saw her as an older person. My grandfather was in his late 70s. And then Chris and I, we were at the lake one day, and I asked a friend to take a picture of us sitting there because I said, I want that picture side by side with my grandparents. You know, I'm 53 at this point, and that picture, and Chris is over 50, whether he likes to admit it or not. And I just thought, you know, we have to remember that people were not always the age that they are. And our grandkids need to know that we weren't always the age we are, because how many of you share pictures with your grandkids regularly? Raise your hand. Okay, a few do. Great, that's awesome. Yeah, not everybody does, and I know that our grandkids aren't quite old enough yet to appreciate that, but as they get to be teenagers, I think that's an important thing. I didn't appreciate my grandparents like I do now until I was probably in my 30s. And that's unfortunate, because that's when you start to lose people, right, that you care about a lot of times. Okay, so number one, truth on your handout, on the front page. You can write this one down. Ready? Grandparenting and great-grandparenting is a grand experiment. Truth number one, right? So for anybody in the room that's new, Kelly, grandparenting, right, this is an adventure. Because, man, I'm going to tell you, I did a lot of interviews for this talk, and I asked a lot of questions, and I spoke with a lot of people and did some surveys and whatnot. And my number one thing that I took away from that was there is no right way to do this. There's no rule book, there's no guide, there's no blog post, there's no YouTube video on how to do it right. Lots of people have opinions. But why can't you do it right? Well, because every child is different, and every family is different, and every circumstance is different, right? So, I like grand experiments. We teach real estate agents around the country all the time, you know, as part of our professional career. We teach real estate agents to do these types of seminars all over the country. Matter of fact, we're going to Reno this weekend to visit with some folks who are doing a similar one. And we tell them when they start, they go, okay, how does it work? And I said, well, first of all, you need to accept that it's an experiment, right? Because it's different for everybody. Same way with grandparenting, all right? So what is different about it? Let's talk about that. So number one, Google and social media, right? Did y'all have that when you were young? No, neither did I. Our kids are being raised by the internet. Our grands and great-grands, right? Sitting at restaurants now, you can look around the restaurant, and how many of you look around the restaurant and there will be a maybe 2-year-old to 6-year-old sitting with a cell phone or iPad in front of them, and while the parents are talking, the child is watching television or playing games or movies, right? So screen time is a real thing. It's not going to go away. The internet is here to stay. So we got to figure out that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. There are articles out there that have actually, I went back as far as early 2000s, so 20 years ago now. That particular article, I think, was 2013, something like that. Kids choose Google over grandparents. They'll Google it before they'll ask somebody, right? And then they'll argue with you and tell you that Google's right when they find out from you your answer. Grandparenting from a distance, this is the other thing. I grew up within 10 miles of one grandparent and within half a mile of the other. Many great aunts and uncles nearby. How many of you grew up close to your grandparents? Raise your hand. Okay, great. The vast majority, I think, did. When I say close, fairly close, at least drivable. Now we have about 10% of grandparents have to travel more than 200 miles to see their closest grandchild. And then 40% report having to travel more than 200 miles to see their furthest grandchild. And so a lot of people are grandparenting from a distance. And then there are a lot of people raising grandchildren, right? So we know this to be the case too, whether it be due to financial reasons or other circumstances, people are raising their grandchildren. And some people are raising their great-grandchildren. And so, unfortunately, about 32% of grandparents living with their grandchildren under the age of 18 are responsible for their care. A lot of people that are incarcerated, obviously grandparents are having to raise their grandchildren, and as well as people who are just unable to manage paying for a household. Housing is expensive these days, have you guys noticed? Yeah. So, those are my main points, but here's a whole list, right? But wait, there's more? Right? There are a lot of reasons that grandparenting is harder or different, right? Family composition. Think about step families, blended families, single parent households. I grew up with 4 sets of grandparents, really, maybe 6 if you want to count the greats, because I had a mom and dad who divorced and both remarried, and so I had lots of sets of grandparents. My son has multiple sets as well. And so what happens with family composition, right, is step grandparenting is different than just grandparenting your own children. Many of you have stepchildren that you're grandparenting, or step grandparenting. Yeah, that's a big deal, right? So then views on how to discipline. Does anybody's kids discipline differently than they discipline them, besides me? Wow. True story. We have a grandson named Maverick, well-named child. He's the middle child of our daughter. He is 7. About 2 or 3 years ago, he was at the house for however long, and they were there, and he was acting out, and I was aggravated and frustrated, and so I put him in timeout because that was what I thought the right thing was to do. Not what I wanted to do, but I was marching him up the stairs, and he wasn't going. And he was being obstinate and obnoxious. And we got about halfway up the stairs, and I said, "Am I going to have to spank your butt?" And he stopped, and he looked at me, and he said, "What's a spank?" "I'm going to show you a spank," I said, right? But oh my gosh, it hit me at that moment. He has no idea what a spank is. Not a clue. I didn't spank him. I have since spanked him. That did not go well. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Views on discipline are different, right? We have to pay attention, and it's frustrating. Healthcare and nutritional guidelines and authorities are different. By the way, if you're going to babysit your grandchildren, you need to know what their dietary restrictions are, because I promise you there's a list, right? Right. Our granddaughter ate avocados, I'm pretty sure, exclusively from her time she was 6 months old to 2 years old, I think. Role of children in the family unit. Kids in multiple generations are different, right? Kids used to be seen and not heard, and now kids are the center of everybody's world, right? There is no such thing as the kids are in the kids' room and the parents or the grown-ups are in the grown-ups' room. The role of elders in the family unit has changed too, right? We can all agree on that. And then of course, childcare and childcare costs have changed as well. So we all know that childcare costs have skyrocketed. The availability of childcare is difficult, lots of reasons for that. And so a lot of grandparents are either retiring to not raise grandchildren, but keep them during the day. And then some people want to be able to stop working and keep their grandkids, but they can't because they need to work, right, in order to take care of their lifestyle. So there's kind of a double-edged sword there. And then proximity to our extended family, we talked about that. And then pace of day-to-day life. Think about that. We struggle to see our grandchild who lives in Yukon, and we live in Northwest Oklahoma City. She's within 30 minutes of us, and I see her about the same amount of time I see my Austin grandkids. True story. Because they're busy. Life is busy. And you have to carve out time. It's very difficult. That's why I said I'm a grandparent in training, because this is a challenge, right? Like I'm a problem solver. And I can't seem to figure this one out just yet. So you can give me some advice later. Okay. Truth number 2. This is on your second line. Grandparent and grandchild relationships can be mutually beneficial. Can be. You know, I originally had on there are mutually beneficial. And then I looked at some studies. I'm going to give you an exception to the rule when they may or may not be beneficial to both parties, and we'll talk about that. But most of the time I would say the answer is yes, they are beneficial for a variety of reasons. Matter of fact, let me give you just a few. So in this study, some sociologists found that relationships with grandchildren for the grandparent generally increases brain health for the grandparent, keeps them more physically active and socially engaged, and in turn increases the grandparent's mental and physical health. I know for myself, I've thought to myself, I want to stay healthy and active because I want to be able to spend time with my grandkids, right? And I know others of you have said the same thing. The other thing it says is that grandparents who spend time with grandkids may also have a healthier immune system. Why? Because they make you sick all the time. And your body has to produce antibodies, and so therefore you have a healthier immune system. Believe me, they left from Thanksgiving and we were all sick for a week. Many grandparents also say that being a grandparent encourages them to live a healthier lifestyle. We talked about that. And then the other one is when people engage in activities out of choice rather than need, their approach, attitudes, and interactions are more positive, and kids tend to pick up on that positive vibe more quickly. And then lastly, it helps grandparents keep familiar with emerging technology. Learning new skills is also good for brain health. If you've been to the Villages talks, Villages OKC has had several talks this year on health and nutrition and brain health and the neuroplasticity. Last year they did a whole series on brain health. And we know that by learning new skills, it helps us rewire our brain, right? It keeps us more sharp. And so who better to help you do that than a grandchild who is good at it, right? Because they're better at it sometimes than we are. Eli, that's a 4-year-old now, when he was 2, he knew how to answer a phone and text message when he had the phone in his hand. He knew that if a text message came in, he knew how to swipe to get rid of it. He knew how to click on it if he wanted to answer it at 2. Some of us still haven't figured that out, right? But here's the thing that they do say too, and that is that children that have a positive relationship with their grandparents have better self-esteem, fewer behavioral problems, and better social skills with their peers. Grandparents who regularly interact with their grandchildren are generally healthier and suffer less depression. Now these are all from studies. These are various different studies sociologists have done. And so we know that there are benefits, right? And it doesn't even have to be your grandchild by blood relation. It could be a grandchild that you've chose to adopt, like I adopted Homer, right? Now here's the cautionary tale, and that is that, and by the way, that map, I wanted to point out that map up there. The reason I put that up there, the pink, the very dark pink colored states, which Oklahoma is included in, is based on, let me get that slide, the bigger slide up there. That has to do with the percentage of population living with grandchildren who are responsible for their co-resident grandchildren from 2017 to 2021. So we are higher than normal, higher than average, if you will, with grandparents who are raising their grandchildren. That's where that slide came from. And part of that has to do with incarceration rates, just so you know, FYI. But this caution was that grandparents who are primary caregivers for grandchildren are typically more challenged in their relationships with them. Well, that kind of stands to reason, doesn't it? If you're having to raise your grandchildren, you don't really get to act like a grandparent, do you? You have to act like a parent, and so even if you're not a parent. And we're seeing that in a lot of people, unfortunately, are struggling. They'd rather be grandparents, and yet here they are in this role. And so then, proactive grandparenting in today's world requires, this is the third truth, proactive grandparenting in today's world requires intention, effort, creativity, communication, and more. And the and more is lots of and mores, right? But those are the big ones. Effort, intention, creativity, and communication. And there's a delicate balance, and I'm going to create a list here for you. Because one of the things that was interesting to me in the conversations that I had with people, so there's a little bit of a difference, and it's kind of interesting to watch. Like Wanda went with us to Austin this past week, and we had a little bit of I'm going to call it a tiff the night before we left, my daughter and I, with some discipline that I tried to give to our grandson, Maverick. And it was poor communication on my part, I'll be honest. I'll fall on that sword, okay? So she doesn't communicate with me very well, and I don't communicate with her very well sometimes, and therefore we're not always on the same page when it comes to my role as a grandparent. Fair enough? And so there's a little bit of work to do there. But anyway, point being, Wanda was there, and Wanda heard it all, and we drove back all the way home yesterday, 6 hours in the car, and I thought to myself several times, I'm going to ask Wanda, because she was there in the room, so was Chris, but I don't want to ask Chris's opinion, because I already know his opinion. But I should have asked Wanda, what did I do wrong? Like, what did I do wrong? But you know what, and I thought about this morning. Wanda hasn't heard this. She's sitting back there going, I didn't want to ask her either, because I wanted to be right. And I'm pretty sure I wasn't right? And here's the thing, I had an experienced parent who has been a grandparent for 33 years in the car with me, and I did not ask her for her advice. You know what I did? I Googled it. I am not joking. I was writing this talk, I had finished it, I was putting the slides together in the car. I had an experienced great grandparent in the car, did not ask her. What's the lesson there? We gotta ask, right? So Wanda, get ready, that question's coming later, right? Because here's the deal, we gotta work together. And I think part of the issue is that I didn't want to ask her. Number one, I didn't want to be wrong, and I was pretty sure she was going to tell me how I could have done it better. She would do it nicely. But the other thing was, I think that we don't like to communicate sometimes because we don't know what the answer is going to be, and we also don't like we don't like conflict. Our kids don't like conflict. My daughter does not like conflict. It's very uncomfortable. And I remember my family bickering and fighting and griping and whatnot, and the next thing you know, we're playing dominoes, right? It was not a big deal. But now it seems like families fight and they go, to heck with you, we're not talking anymore. And then what do? They hold your grandkids hostage, right? And my biggest fear is that my daughter and I will have a fight, or my daughter-in-law will have a fight, and I won't get to see my grandkids, so I just keep my mouth shut. Anybody else have that problem? Yeah. So the delicate balance. So I made a list of a few. Some I know about, some I read about, some people also shared with me. But there's a delicate balance on giving your opinion or advice as a grandparent. And of course, I know as a trained coach and facilitator and salesperson, there's a best practice. And the best practice is before you give advice or your opinion, you ask people if they want it. It's just good practice, right? But with my kids, guess what I don't do? I don't ask. I just assert myself because I should. I'm the grandparent. I know better. That was a big mistake. Financial support, there's another delicate balance. Some of our kids or grandkids may need things. I know that I would love to be able to go and I have the money to do it and just go spend the money on them to get them what they want. There's a delicate balance between doing that and somehow balancing the right and the wrong and how much to spend and when to spend it and how to spend it and all those things. Some of y'all may not have that problem. I know most of you are independently wealthy and so are your kids, so it's all good. Yeah. Availability, right? Availability. How available are we? Right? My daughter called one time. She had a health issue. She was in Austin. You know, she needed something immediately. We're 6 hours, 7 hours away. I can't just jump in the car or jump on an airplane and be there in a moment's time. I can't do it. A friend of ours from Austin just recently, over Thanksgiving, they were supposed to host Thanksgiving at their house in Austin 2 or 3 days before Thanksgiving. Their daughter, who's in Kansas City, she has a 1-year-old, fell down the stairs, I believe, broke her arm, collarbone, the whole bit, couldn't change a diaper. Her husband's in medical school as a resident. He's working long hours, and so what did they do? They got in their car in Austin, they drove to Kansas City, and they're going to be there through Christmas to help her with the baby. I'm like, I couldn't do that. Right? What's our availability, right, for our grandkids and the other direction as well? Togetherness, that's another one. How much togetherness is too much? How much is the right amount, and how much is not enough? And that's all subjective, right? And God, you can read the studies, and you know what the studies say? It depends. It depends. So, and then gifts. Gifts is the other thing. How many of you are no longer giving Christmas gifts and you just give gift cards? Raise your hand. Yeah, a few. Okay. How many of you just don't do gifts or gift cards for grandkids? Oh, how many of you buy gifts then? Okay, good. All right, great. So most people are still buying gifts. A few are doing gift cards, and some of you aren't doing anything. So fairness among multiples, that's the other one. When there are lots of grandkids or multiple grandkids, how are you fair? My family was, I had this weird thing, and I think it scarred me for life. My stepmom, there were 4 of us, 2 of hers and 2 of Dad's, my brother and I, and she always wanted to be fair. Everything needed to be fair. So if one got something, the other one got something equal and proportionate, right? And everything had to be fair. Well, guys, life wasn't always fair, right? Like, you had different kids with different needs and kids with different wants and kids with different levels of capability and all these things. And I always thought that was really unfair because I worked. I went out and made my own money and, did all that and paid for my own gas. And yet I'd be treated like they were being treated as well if they couldn't. And I thought, well, that doesn't make sense. I don't need the money because I'm working or whatever. But no, it has to be fair. Everything has to be fair. That was weird. So now I have this weird thing in my life. It's like, okay, with the grandkids and the kids, everything has to be fair, but not all things are equal, right?
That's right.
So how do you do that? There's a delicate balance. And then other. There's lots of others, right? There's a delicate balance in all this. So one thing we have to do is we have to define our purpose. Define our role. I was thinking about January. Villages OKC is doing a talk in January, I think on the 8th, and it's on defining your purpose or finding your purpose. And when we did a talk on this a couple years ago, we had everybody do a new business card. Do you guys remember that? Some of you wrote out your own business card and you put on your business card, even if you're retired, what you wanted to be now as your role. And grandparenting was one of those things. Like, maybe your role right now in life, pardon me, maybe your role right now in life is grandparenting. And so if that's true, what does that role look like for you? And how do you want that role to look? I want to show a quick video here. I think this is a fun video. Some of you may have seen it, but this will help us just a little bit with defining.
Good afternoon. Welcome
our
to
roles.
Namesake.
That's a
How can
little
I help
loud, Chris.
I'm gonna have a grandbaby.
Well, that's wonderful. So I'm guessing you're here to pick out your grandmother name.
That'd be great.
All right, this way. All right, well, let's start with two of our most popular options. We have the Granny. It's casual, yet still commands respect.
Granny.
Granny, dinner's ready.
Okay, well, we also have the more affordable Meemaw, which is a variant of the Granny line.
Meemaw, supper's on the table.
I'm thinking something a little more younger and hipper.
In that case, I recommend the Mimi. You can also get this in Gigi or customized with your own name.
Mimi's here. This one's nice.
Hey, Barb.
Hey, Susan, isn't this adorable?
Yes, that's the one I have.
Oh. Never mind. Do you have something else?
Oh, we got something in just yesterday that I think you will love. The Grammy.
Oh my gosh, Granny!
Grammy!
Grammy,
over here.
Oh, wow.
Grammy.
Grammy, look over here.
I love you, Grammy!
I love it. I'll take it.
Perfect. I'll wrap this up for you. And just so you know, we have a 1-year return policy just in case anything goes wrong for whatever reason.
I need to return this.
Of course. What's the reason for the return?
The kid couldn't pronounce the name. I'm gonna have to go with Lala.
Of course. One moment.
Bless your heart.
Okay, how many of you can relate to that? Ladies in the room, yeah. Men too. Chris had a really hard time with being a grandparent at 38, and he said, Nikki, they are not going to call me Papa. It's just not going to happen. Not going to do it. That's what I called my grandfather. His grandfather was Pops, and his dad took on Pops when Pops passed. Jim became Pops. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you're going to be called. And I said, you'll be called whatever that child decides to call you. And he's like, nope. Nope. He was clear. And one day I was on the internet, and I don't know what I was looking for, but I came across a definition of oompa. And it was wise teacher. And I said, well, how do you feel about oompa? And he goes, why? I said, well, it means wise teacher. And he goes, okay. And he kind of did what that lady did. Okay, I'll do that. So he is forever oompa. And now Maverick, who's 7, likes Willy Wonka. And so he gets Oompa Loompa Doopity Doo. That is not okay. It's funny, but it's not okay. So just know that the name matters to some people, not to everyone, right? Not to everyone. I'd love to hear what your names are. You can write them on your evals. That's always fun. If you want to write next to your actual name or somewhere on there, write what you're called, what your grandparent names are. Because, Wanda was Grammy for her granddaughter and our kids, and then when the great-grandkids came, she changed it, and now she's Nana. I don't know what to call her ever. So you can't change your name, but she did. She wanted to, so now she's Nana and Grammy. It drives me crazy. Don't change your name. Okay, so my question for you are these 3 things. As you're thinking about your role, right? We know that there's a delicate balance. We know that we are going to have to work at this. But we have to define what our role is going to be. And Marilyn Olson is one of my mentors. I think a lot of her. She shares a lot of things with me. And she always says I help her, but she didn't know how much she helps me. Figuring out what your role is and being clear about it. And is your role... Are you going to be the person you want to be, or are you going to let your kids dictate who you're going to be? Or are you going to let somebody else dictate who you're going to be? And I think some people are very clear about their role in their family, and some people aren't. I know I'm still working on it. But I like the idea of asking, what does being a grandparent mean to me? What does it mean to me now, right? And because I know what it meant to me for my grandparents, but I have to imagine, what is it for me as a grandparent? What is it I want being a grandparent to look like? And then what does grandparenting mean to your kids? Because you have to get through your kids to be a grandparent, unfortunately. And it's not always easy. And by the way, I have a son and a daughter, and it is a lot easier grandparenting my daughter's children than it is my son's child, because I have a daughter-in-law. And who's in charge? Who do we know is in charge? The daughter-in-law. And so in my world, it's hard. And so it's like, okay, so how do I navigate that? And so I have to figure out, what do my kids want me to be as a grandparent? Matter of fact, I did not get it done, but yesterday it hit me. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to text message, because that's how we communicate now. I'm going to text message my son and my daughter-in-law. I'll probably do that later today. What do you want me and Chris to be as grandparents? What is our role? Because I don't even think they know, right? They don't know. And I think that would be helpful, right, to know that. And so maybe the same thing with great-grandparents as well. What do your grandchildren need or want in a grandparent? What do they need or want? Well, first of all, they don't know, do they? If they're little. If they're teenagers, they might, right? Like Marilyn, I know she knows her granddaughter, her grandkids are old enough to be able to tell her some of the things, right, that they want. I have a great client. She's a coaching client of mine out of Phoenix, Arizona. I coach with her on business. And she has 2 teenage granddaughters. One's in college, one's getting ready to go to college. And she's their travel buddy. So she takes them on trips and is kind of, and she has fun with them. But she's the chaperone, but she's not funding it. It's not that she's paying for it. She's their travel buddy. They would rather travel with her than their parents. And they're good kids, right? They're responsible. They do fun things. They go to cool stuff. Most kids that age don't necessarily want their grandparent traveling with them. I'd love to be the travel buddy for my grandkids when they're that age, right? Right now, Maverick's 7. I don't really want to spend more than about 5 minutes with him. He makes me crazy, and I'm struggling with that. I want to share something that Chris and I did a while back. Actually, I'll share that here in just a minute. Okay, technology can be a bridge. Truth number 4. Technology can be a bridge. Sorry, I'm going off track there. We just have to be willing to use it. What kind of technology? Well, any kind of technology, because our kids are using it, aren't they? Right? Tommy, do you FaceTime with your grands? No? Why not? You don't have a cell phone? Did you know you can use that thing you use right there to read your news? Yeah? FaceTime is cool. It's the cool thing. Now, Snapchat's cool. I don't use Snapchat. I don't know how to use it. I'm learning, right? So my kids are still little. They don't have their own devices yet, my grandkids. Once they have their own devices, then they're on them all the time, right? So this is a picture of Kate, our youngest grandchild. And you can see the little circles up in the corner. That's us. That's me and Chris. We're FaceTiming with her. We're at conference. We did our conference down here in October. And Caleb FaceTimed me when we were at dinner that evening. And I was so grateful because I hadn't seen him in a while. And he was just FaceTiming just to say hi. Doesn't do it very often, but every once in a while. And he said, here's Kate. And he said, hi, Kate. Tell Kate, say hi, Nene, hi, Grandpa. And she was not happy. She wasn't having it. She was not happy. She was having spaghetti for dinner. And we were watching her have spaghetti for dinner. And so I took a couple of screenshots on my phone so I could share those for later. Because these are the kind of pictures our kids do not put on Facebook. These are the real pictures. This is what's happening in real life, right? Those are the things that I like to see. I want to see what's going on in their real life. And so Kate, that was Kate FaceTiming. This is another FaceTime, more recently. They also have these fun little things on the bottom of your FaceTime screens where you can click a button and it will turn you into another creature. Have you seen that? So Kate is old enough now, she's almost 2, knows which button to push to turn herself into a chicken, a monkey, a bear, a dinosaur, a poop pile, a number of things that she can be on the screen while we're FaceTiming. And I can do the same thing. And so, and then when you, like for instance, if you open your mouth, that little chicken will open its mouth, like it moves with you. It's weird. But that's what they want to do on FaceTime, right? At 2, she didn't talk. She isn't going to talk with me. I'm not going to be able to find out how her day went. We're going to make stupid looking faces at each other though, right? That's weird to me. But if that's the time I get with them, right, then that's the time I get with them. So, you know, I'm kind of working with what I got here, people. These are the pictures that do go on social media. These are the ones that make the life look perfect, right? Now, how many of you have been to Disney? How many of you want to go back? That's about right. Yep, a few of you. All right, so they went to Disney, and these are the picture on the left of Kate is the one of them at Disney. The one in the middle is recent. They went to a farmer's market, and then the one on the right is her school picture. Those are all Facebookable pictures. How do I know that? Because my kids posted them, okay? This picture I took when I was babysitting recently, not social media postable. Why? Well, her hair's not fixed, she doesn't have the perfect outfit on, and it's just not approved. Hasn't been approved, Shannon. They have to be approved. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely approved. Yep. So, social media is another way we can stay in touch though, right? Now, you just have to know that you're only seeing part of the picture, right? Like me, this is the picture I'm seeing is this picture. This is the picture I want to see, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So with my kids, we have a deal, and that is that they don't want to post things on social media. I ask them when they share them with me in a folder. So they'll share pictures like that with me in a Google folder, and I can access the Google folder, and I can see the real pictures. But the pictures y'all get to see, if you go to social media, Kate is always going to have her hair fixed, always. And they're going to have matching clothes on, always. Same shoes, color coordinated, always. I did not raise him that way, I'm just saying. This is a daughter-in-law thing, and I'm okay with it, it's beautiful. And I love them, it's great. I don't have a problem with it, I just have to learn to deal with it because it is not how I work. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's interesting, yeah. It's very interesting. My daughter, on the other hand, I can post anything on social media for my daughter's kids. She doesn't care, right? She loves it. She thinks it's great. Choice number 5, last one. We don't know what tomorrow holds, so today is the best day to begin. We don't. We don't know what tomorrow holds. My grandmother went into surgery at age 57, minor surgery, didn't come out of it. Right? I got the best of my grandmother up through age 57, I promise you, right? I want to be around longer, but I have no guarantees last time I checked, right? That's right. So today is the day. So if you are on shaky ground with your kids or grandkids, probably kids, not grandkids, redefine or define your role, right? Take time to make some amends. If you have some amends to make, due to some history, maybe some long history even, you might want to look into the Celebrate Recovery program I talked about at Crossings, because that's what it's for. It's a year-long program for you to figure it out and make amends. It doesn't have to be about an addiction, it can be about anything. Communicate expectations. I think that's our biggest challenge. We have to communicate with our families and our kids. We have to set boundaries when appropriate. We have to get a counselor or coach if we need one. And I think a lot of us probably could use one. I have a family counselor that I talk with, and she's amazing, and she reminds me sometimes, right, what my role is. And sometimes I ask her for advice, and sometimes she reminds me that I know the right answer. I just have to get over myself, right? It depends. And then engage with new intention, right? So if you leave here today with anything, I think my thought was that we all should be very intentional. And I'm thinking, you know, a lot of our clients in real estate, when we are sitting at the table with them, we're getting ready to sell their home, and they say, well, I say, what is it you're going to miss about your house? And they'll say, well, I'm going to miss the extra bedrooms. Like, I have 4 bedrooms, I'm moving into a 2-bedroom, I'm going to miss those extra 2 bedrooms. Well, what are you going to miss about them? Well, that's where my grandkids stay when they come. And I'll say, well, how often do they come? Well, really not that often anymore. Well, how often? Oh, every few years. I'm like, oh, so you're gonna hang on to 2 bedrooms for every few year visit. But guys, that's hope, right? That's hopefulness. That's us saying, I want them to come, so I'm gonna make space for them because I want them to come. But you know where our kids stayed this year at Thanksgiving? There's a really nice little, what's the name of that place, Chris? Courtyard, right over there by Quail Springs Mall. Yep. Because they've outgrown our house. We have a 2-bedroom condo. They've outgrown our house. We can't do it anymore. Too many family, too much for a week. So we got them a hotel room. It's doable. It was actually the best Thanksgiving we've had in a little while, right? Space, right? Maverick, sand, right? I love him, but I can't wait for him to be like 15 or 16. I really can't. Yeah, no, seriously. Well, at least at that age, I can spank him and get away with it. We'll see, right? Okay, so focusing on legacy. Let's talk about this real quick. I put this list up here, guys. Here's the thing, and I'm going to go through this just really quick because you guys already know these things. If you're focusing on legacy and you have grandkids or grandkids, right now, write a memoir. Write it. Write your memoir. Tell them the stories. Here's the thing I'm thinking. If I don't have any of these things, like my grandparents didn't write anything down, like they didn't even label pictures. And I go back now at this age, and I wish they had. At the age I was when I could have asked them questions, I didn't want to ask them questions. I didn't care. But now I care, and they didn't bother to write it down. Does that make sense? Because they didn't know that I would care, or that any of us would care. And so even if they don't seem to care now, go ahead and write it down because I think they might care at some point. Now they do not want your 42 picture albums. I can tell you that right now. They don't have room for it. But they wouldn't mind having a few of those key memoirs, right? A few of the key pictures, the ones that matter, the ones you really want them to know about or tell them about. Do that. Write a book. Record some videos. Gosh, you have this thing called a cell phone, most of you. I mean, literally one click, turn the thing around, record yourself, sharing some videos, shoot them some videos, put them in a folder, do it formally, do it informally, it doesn't matter. Gift experiences instead of money and stuff. Stop giving people gift cards and give them an experience. Some of you are probably paying for some education, maybe something like that. That's great, whatever that may be. But I think what we're hearing from families is stop giving kids gifts and crap they don't need and give them something that is important and valuable. And so we've taken our grandkids, Layla, on a trip since she was 6 every year. In the summer, we take her on a trip. We give it to her for Christmas, and then we take her. And that was wonderful. And then we took Maverick on his first trip last year. Not the same kid as Layla was. It's hard. And so we're not sure how we're going to do that. But Maverick won't get the same. We can't do it. All things being equal, can't do it. We're tired. We're tired, right? It's different. So, and now we've got 4 grandkids. So how are we going to do that? 4 weeks a year, take a trip with each grandkid? How do you do that, right? I couldn't do that with 10. So take trips or experiences, and they can be local, they can be anything. Send a card every month with something meaningful to them. I'm proud of you, great job, love you, thinking of you, miss you, whatever it might be. Send a card every month, right? You'd be surprised. Some of your kids are more sentimental than others. The ones that are sentimental, that's going to matter a lot. That aren't as sentimental are going to wonder why there's not money in it, right? When I opened cards, the first thing I did was kind of hold them like this, just in case money might fall out. Because I always had money in my cards, and now I give my grandkids cards, and I always close my eyes when they open them. Come on, like I hope they don't expect there to be money in that. Okay, so if you want to level up, do something more technical. You can get a computer, iPhone, take a class, learn how to FaceTime. Learn how to do a Zoom call. If you don't, I'm sure you probably do by now. Learn how to do technology that your grandkids do, whatever that is. You'll have to ask them because it changes weekly. Ask your grandkids if they're teenagers or great-grandkids how to do it. Just the time it takes for them to teach you how to do it is quality time. Even if after you're done, you look at your spouse or your friend and you go, I still have no clue how to do that. The time you spent with them trying to learn how to do it is the time. That's what matters. It's not that you learned how to do it or you'll ever use it again. And then set up a virtual play date. There are people now that living at a distance, that set up a computer, laptop computer with the camera on, and the kid will sit there and play while the grandparent's watching them play right there in the room, right? It's a virtual play date. I wish I had time to do that. It's very difficult to do when you work, but when you're retired, it's a little bit easier. But you can set up a virtual play date every week, right? And if your kids are willing to do that. I went to the World War II History Museum in New Orleans, Chris and I did, and there are these holograms now that you've seen probably specials where they're doing this. So these were World War II veterans, and they're serving in different capacities. And these pictures, and I could ask her a question, and there were several different ones of them, I think 12 or something. And I could ask a question, and they had a pre-recorded answer for that question, and she would talk to me as if we're having a conversation. How cool is this, right? I wish we all could do this. And guess what? That technology is coming. They're very close to making that something we can all do. And so hang on to that, okay? So whether you're doing a high-tech thing or a low-tech thing, what's the number one thing we have to do? Number one thing. Communicate. Who said that? Good job. What's the number two thing we got to do? Be intentional. Yeah, make an effort. Yeah, take action. And what's the number three thing we got to do? Do it now. Right? Do it now. So I want to hear a couple of stories. While people are telling me things really quick, I want to hear just 2 or 3 people. I want you to share something creative. I know some of you in the room are very creative, but I haven't talked to you. What is something you've done with your grandkids or great-grandkids or an aunt or an uncle, if you're an aunt or uncle, that you feel like everybody needs to know about that has worked for you to build a relationship with that generation? Who has one? I'm going to take 2 or 3. And Danielle's got a mic up here. She's going to bring you the mic to tell you. Okay, T's going to start us off. Anybody else have one? Let me see hands. We'll get Sharon, and then I'll come over here and we'll get Theta. Help me. Thank you. Okay, ready?
So I go and help them with their writing.
I don't think we're on, Chris. Our handheld mic. There we go. Now we're on.
I help them with their writing.
What does that mean? Tell us more about that.
Well, I check their backpack and their work, and so I see how they're writing. And it seems like this generation, grandchildren, they don't really care how they write, but I do.
Oh, okay. So you're kind of the writing tutor then?
Yes.
Yeah, and is that on a schedule or is that just?
No, just whenever I see them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
I check
right.
it.
Great. And so that'll be part of your legacy at some point. Yep. Right? Somebody will say, you have beautiful handwriting. They'll go, that's because my
Grandmother.
Wonderful. Love it. Okay. Sharon over here.
During COVID, I started reading books to my grandchildren and send them to them via FaceTime or Marco Polo or whatever. And I was just with them this weekend and they mentioned that, oh, you used to read to us.
Wow.
I need to do that again, even though they're teenagers.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so hang on. I got a couple of questions for you. So you mentioned Marco Polo. I'm sure I'm not the only one in the room going, what is that?
Marco Polo is just an app you can get on your phone or your iPad, and you turn the camera on and you just do whatever you're going to do. Talk to them, show them how to do something, read a story to them.
Okay, great. So it's just a two-way video feed.
Yes, but it's one they can access at their. It doesn't have to. It's not live. So you record what you're saying, doing, or whatever, and then when Mom says, now you can check Marco Polo for something that Mimi sent to you, then it's there.
It's not in real time, and
That's
so
correct.
they can, at their convenience or
That's
yours.
correct.
Oh, that's awesome. Good. Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate that.
Good.
All right, cool.
That's
All right, back here we got one, and then we'll go back there to the back. So, yep.
We have made many good memories with our grandkids in the kitchen.
In the kitchen. And
Just
what
go
about
there.
the kitchen do you think it is?
Well, tonight we're making Christmas candy. Everybody gets involved and does whatever they want to do.
And how many grandkids would you say have been involved in that over the years?
Well, so far just 4. 4.
4? Okay, just 4? Just 4, that's a lot of drinking. Yeah, so.
But the kitchen is a good
That's-
place to build memories.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we got one more back here. Yeah.
Can I go over?
Yeah, Herb's volunteering to help with the candy project. And he's a lot of fun, so that might be good. You may have to clean up afterwards, but
Gardening from the time my 11-year-old grandson currently was probably 3. I put a little garden rake in his hand, and we've continued that. Last year I had told them, I need your leaves from your yard because they have more trees than I do. They brought me 6 bags. I loved it. Went to my new raised bed. So 2 days ago he called me and said, Grandma, you need leaves this year? I said, yeah. And I'm supposed to leave some in a few small corners for the fireflies and other insects? I said, yes.
nice.
You can get them Monday night when you come over to babysit.
That's amazing.
And the younger one, 2 years younger, likes kale.
Did you say kale?
Kale.
All right, very good. Yeah, I told you they have very special diets these days. Yeah, interesting. Very good. Thank you guys for sharing. I think all of you probably have something you could share, and I know everybody can't share, but I think the key thing that I'm hearing, if you guys heard it too, is that it's about the time, and there's a task involved. We're doing something. We're making candy. We're gardening. We're doing writing assignments, right? We're doing things that are reading. We're doing things that we enjoy doing that we want to pass on to them too, right? So I'm going to flip it around a little bit because I think with this next generation coming up, what I'm noticing, you guys, is they're gaming and their technology stuff. And I'm thinking about this myself. I'm like, okay, they can play these games now in Austin, and I can be playing the same game in Oklahoma City, and we're playing together, right? And we're going to learn how to do that. I'm so excited. But I'm going to get excited because I have to be. If I'm not excited, it's not worth doing, right? So I'm going to find a way to get excited about that. And I think once I start doing it, I get good at it, I'll be fine. I'm very competitive. And so is Maverick. So that might be the way we win, right? I don't know. How many of you right now, this moment, had a thought to yourself, I'm going to go do something different when I leave here today? Raise your hand. Very good. Okay, good. The rest of y'all slept through this. Excellent. Okay. So you have action steps on your handout that you can write down for yourself. They're on the back page, and you can write down your own action steps, whatever you think they might be. I put some suggestions on there. Those are just suggestions to get you thinking, that you don't have to do any of them. You can do whatever makes sense for you. The other thing I want you to do is fill out your evaluation form. And but while you're doing that, I'm going to have a couple of quick housekeeping announcements. Becky, would you come up real quick? I want to introduce somebody to you guys that you're going to be seeing a lot more of next year at the 2025 seminars. You guys had the privilege of seeing Shannon. Shannon's back here. Raise your hand, Shannon. Everybody, stand up, Shannon, so everybody can see you. You remember Shannon did a lot of moderating this year, and she's going to be doing a lot more moderating again next year as well. And Shannon and Chris and I and Danielle and all of our team, we occasionally run across people that we think would make a good fit for helping us educate, right? And I've known Becky now for a few years, and it's funny, this past year Danielle said something to me. She said, Nikki, there's big things happening this year. She goes, I don't know what they are, but there's big things happening. I'm like, I don't know, I'm not ready. Well, so we have grown so much, and we have so many people that we're trying to touch and serve and help and be available to, that we needed to add people to our team. And when Becky and I connected one day, it was kind of like, you guys have seen that commercial. You got Reese's peanut butter cups, you got chocolate, and you got peanut butter, and they come together and they get in cahoots, and now we're like Reese's peanut butter cups, right? I'm the chocolate, you're the peanut butter. And it's this great mix. And so Becky is going to be working with us. Becky Seda is her last name, and she has a real estate group. And her husband Roberto is here, and he's got a law firm. And he and Chris are kind of the behind the scenes people. We don't really like people to see them on stage, usually. But Becky and I and Shannon and the team are going to be moderating and working together on a lot of panels. And I wanted you to meet Becky. Becky, you want to say something to the group? Yeah? I think we're on. Chris, take care of you. Yep, Chris, is she on? Yeah.
Cool. Great, thanks. I don't know about you guys, but this was a amazing talk. And when I was sitting and thinking, and I knew Nikki was going to ask me to come up on stage, and I'm so excited to be here and so thrilled to be invited to be a part of this community. I was looking around the room and I thought to myself, Nikki has built a community. I mean, you guys are a community, and how many, and think about,
well, some of them don't, some of them aren't in the community, so just most of them. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, they're all,
no, I'm just kidding.
But I think there are people in the room that you wouldn't know otherwise, but if you didn't see them here, you would miss them and wonder about them. And she's built a community of trust. I mean, you don't have to wonder if somebody is a safe person to ask for help from, because she has built that. And I love it. And I just think that I'm so thrilled to be here, and I'm so thrilled to be a part of your community. And I'm looking forward to getting to know everybody.
Yeah, so before you give her a hand, let me share something with you about her, and then I want you to appreciate her. So Becky, she's in real estate like we are, and we were having a conversation early on before we decided to partner up on this effort. And she was in her real estate office, and we were talking about real estate agents at the time. We do that sometimes. We like most of them. But on this particular day, she said they were doing a class in the office, and she walked by the classroom, and the instructor had asked the group, what is your value proposition to the consumer? And an agent in the room, as she was walking by, said, I have read the contract, the purchase contract. I've read it. And the instructor didn't know what to say, and Becky walked by. I think you said you stuck your head in and you said, that is not a value proposition. That is like the lowest standard. You have to have read the contract, right? That doesn't make sense. And that was when I knew I really liked her, right? Because the bar for real estate is really high for her, right? Like there is a minimum standard, and then there's Becky. That's what I like. So I like that about her. Here's the other thing I like about her. You know, Eddie Sisson asked me when I told him that Becky and I were partnering up, he goes, well, Nikki? He said, does Becky believe in the truth? And I said, yes, she does. I said, I believe she does. Here's the other thing. The reason that I think we're a good match as an organization, just so you know, is Becky, she said her team, this is what they're about, they see people. Yeah, they sell real estate. That's what they do for a living. But their job in life, like their mission, is to see people, right? See people. And our job is to educate, empower, and equip. That's what we've always said, our team, Shannon and all of us. We educate, we empower, we equip. You add those two things together, and I think you have a really beautiful match. So can I say, welcome aboard? Awesome. Give her a hand, you guys. Yeah, so she's going to be co-presenting with me in January, so if you want to come get a glimpse of what that looks like. She has got such a great depth of knowledge, both professionally and personally. She and her husband Roberto are going to be great additions, and Chris and I are excited about this. So if you see some shifting around, and you see some name changes, and you see SETA Realty Group, and you see some other new education partners, just know that we're changing things up next year. It's going to be really interesting and fun and different, and we're hoping that it will add a lot of value to you guys. So I'm sorry, I thought I had that slide up there all the time, and I didn't. So that's how that'll look. Okay, so next month, as I mentioned, this is the topic. Ready? The truth about living to 100, a new reality. A new reality. And I hope I'm as fun as she is at 100, right? But do you know how hard it is to find pictures online of people that are 100 having fun? Right? We have to create a new paradigm. We have to do that, right? Last but not least, Villages is doing their monthly Discover Villages. So if you're not a member of Villages and you're looking for a way to plug in, go and check that out. Just kind of check it out. This is what Discover Villages is each Monday of the month, each first Monday, of the month, 1 to 1:45 at their offices. You can, Steve is back there at his table, at Villages table. Well, no, he's at the coffee table right now, but he's going back there. And then they're also doing their seminar. I mentioned this. Is this at 10 o'clock on the 8th? Anybody from Villages? 10 o'clock on the 8th?
I believe so.
Okay. And that's coming up in January, so you can pre-register with them for that. And is there anything, other housekeeping that I may have missed, Chris? Yeah. I'm going to do that right now, thank you. Perfect. Okay. So I told you there was a special announcement, and I was going to wait till the end. You ready? We're changing locations again. How many of you are excited about that? Yay! How many of you are like, I'm going to get excited about it? Yes. All right. Here's why it's hard, because our memory, you've been coming here for 2 years, every month, right? Same thing, same thing. Okay, those of you who come every month are going, okay, we're going to change. Here's what we're changing. We're going back to Francis Tuttle on Rockwell. We used to be there years ago. We outgrew it. We're going to be in a different room the first month. So in January, we're going to be in the auditorium, which is the very first building when you pull into Francis Tuttle in the middle. And guess what? They're going to be there so that you'll know where you're going. Signs. Follow the purple signs, and they will get you to the correct parking lot and door. Okay? They will get you to the right parking lot and door. You'll go in the north entrance. You'll pull in, you'll see the signs, you'll park right there close. Then, after January, we'll be going to the room we used to have, which is in the far end of that same entrance on the north end, the northwest corner. It's a great room. This church has been amazing, and I just want to appreciate them. Guys, let's take a moment to appreciate Karen and Chris and Lance and Kristen and Crossings as well. And our coffee guy back here, I never can remember his name. I love him. He's amazing. He's been a great job. And that wasn't enough of a praise. Let's do it one more time, right? And you guys, they've been so gracious in having us here, and so the accommodations have been amazing. We appreciate you more than you know, right? We'll miss you. So we expect to see you guys every Thursday that we do our event, that's the other thing I need to change. It's not Thursdays, it's Tuesdays. Oh my goodness, that's the other change. Tuesdays. Go back to your calendars, and if you've already planned ahead for Thursdays like we normally do, put Tuesdays in there. Make sure you put your schedule in there for Tuesdays, not Thursdays. Or you'll be here, and you'll be here on a Thursday, and they'll wonder why you're here. Now, they'll have other things going on that you can participate in if you get here and we're not here. All right, but we won't be here. All right, so how many of you are coming in January? Raise your hand right now. Let me see. Oh, great. Perfect. Okay, we'll see you then. Guys, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Give yourselves a hand. Give your neighbor a hug before you leave, and we'll see you next month. In the new year.